Good afternoon. This is the Townsend Finance Committee meeting for October 10th, 2023. We call a meeting to order at 5:48 p.m. And as we have remote members, including myself, we need a roll call vote or roll call attendance.
Geraldine Mazeika's here.
Josh Levitt here.
Andrea Wood here.
Don Hayes here. And is Mark?
All right, yes, Mark Hussey here.
Okay, thank you. This call is being recorded for playback on Channel 9, the community television, and the YouTube channel. At this point, the agenda is posted. I have no additions to the agenda at this point. It's just mainly the review of the FY24 budget process and the recommendations we make coming out of it for budget improvement going forward. Is there anything else for anybody that needs to get it to the agenda? Okay, nothing being heard. I'll go and share the file, and we can. We'll blow it up a little bit so we can see it. Minimize that. Okay, move that up. Okay, did everybody have the opportunity to review the document? The main purpose of the document was that we take that review, and what I tried to do with this is take it and just break it down into the sections of the budget preparation and what we had looked at, and trying to make it a little more step-by-step readable, one at a time, rather than in the table format in the original document. So the first piece is the ClearGov software. We had the test data location created, but we never had training. We never had validation that it was to use, and we ended up not using it. So going forward, these were the list of questions that we have for the ClearGov software, to see if we're going to be using it going forward, to see if the grant is going to pay for it again, or if we have to reapply. And then as we move into FY25, it's going to go from a grant paying for it to us to pay for it. So we need to know what the costs are going to be. That software. Does that capture everything about the ClearGov software and questions that we want to present to the Board of Selectmen? Is
there, Don, is there a concern that the software is not viable?
We think it's viable software, but we never got to a point where we could see that the budget numbers that they put in and the files they loaded, the test data, actually worked. And then we never used it. The idea was validate FY23 and FY22 numbers, and then use it for preparing FY24, and we never did. it never got to that point of entering the FY24 data, so we didn't use it to prepare FY24. We did all spreadsheets again and prepared the whole thing with spreadsheets. So this is to really identify and start, if we are going to use it, start now, it really, and see if we can, when we get to full budget season in December, January timeframe, that it is there for us to use, and we have trust that it's a good product for us.
Hey, Don, this is Mark. Isn't that what the issue we had with it last time was we didn't have the data to put in time. Am I correct?
Well, they had loaded previous years, but we had they never validated the older data to load the FY24 data.
Okay, all right. That's okay.
Yeah, so we got to that point. There was a little bit of setup from the prior years, but we never loaded FY24 into it, so we didn't use it in the FY24 preparation.
Got it.
So we're really trying to get to either using it or identifying what the budget process going forward is. You know, that we're going to continue to use spreadsheets, and we're all aware of that, and we can move forward with it. Is it clear, or do I need to change this up a little bit?
I'm fine.
Makes sense.
Okay. The next piece that we talked about, and we've mentioned it, and I wanted to get it in writing, and as we go to the Board of Selectmen, we will present this. The Townsend budget process and policies. And this is an active link to the file. I copied the section that I was highlighting here, which is it talks about the operating budget, and early to mid-fall, the town's financial staff updates the Townsend 5-year financial forecast. We have had last 3 years, 3 different town administrators preparing it, and so we haven't had a 5-year forecast. This is the year to get back on that and look at it, because other pieces of this document talk about not using one-time money to finance to support the ongoing budget, and so having this forecast and seeing the ARPA money going away over the next 2.5 fiscal years, we can see how that 5-year forecast and how we're going to be able to meet the expenses that are going to be there with the estimated revenue sources. And everything's, we understand it's estimated, but we can try to do that and see that 5-year. And then here, item 3, we're still in the policy booklet. The ARPA funds are being used to balance the budget right now. That's how we're paying some of our bills. And the highlighted piece is that the expenditures will be realistically budgeted and estimated, and the revenue is the one time. It's on the second line where it talks about the meeting at the town meeting shall adopt balanced budgets in its current revenues, non-one-time money. So this is going to be a problem when ARPA goes away, if we're to be able to balance the budget without that money. And I know first year we saw it and they put them in the budget. They put the lines in the budget and they put them at 0. Last year we put them in, so we see what the numbers are. So we know what the actual expenses are. We just have to see that ARPA money going away. And I think it was about $300,000 or $400,000 a year right now. That's going to end up going away over time. And so, and again, following the 5-year forecast, and we're we and maybe it's me. It's kind of like it have indicated that we'll support whatever they need to try to get to that 5-year forecast, whether it's helping them with Excel files or if it's using the ClearGov and estimating out what 5 years looks like, the 5-year forecast looks like. We'll be able to do that. And the last item in the budget section was the budget lines containing the word other. Many times when we're reviewing the budget, we're seeing the word other, and sometimes the amounts are large. So we need to, should we be looking at limiting how much an other line can be and bringing it in? So that is really getting down to looking at that procedure and process and procedure and updating it with additional details. And I see I have an extra I in there, so I guess that's a sort of a typo I can fix. Are there any other items that I may have missed as far as budget policy and following the budget policies to identify that piece of the process? Any?
I guess, Don, one question. I mean, not being part of the process historically.
Yeah.
Just building on your question.
Mm-hmm.
What has been some of the other things that have kind of slowed down the process outside of things that these recommendations to improve it?
Well, the school budget is one that is big time in the process of, and I didn't list that in here. But there are some items. School budget has always been a big one. They come in with a number that blows up the budget, and then there's some back and forth. And usually, they're not finalizing their budget number until mid to late April, which causes us to scramble for the last 2 weeks before town meeting. So I can go back and add the school department budget in there and see in the process there is a piece that talks about the school budget, the school department, and when they should be presenting numbers to us. So I'll go back and add that piece to this document. Good question. Other than that, it's not much. I mean, it's really the schools that hold us up.
With item number 4, should we make a recommendation on what that dollar percentage amount should be?
We can certainly make the recommendation, and that's the thing. It didn't know exactly where it should be, whether it should be a percent of the expenses budget for a department, but and maybe it is or a dollar. If you do a dollar, and say we come into the fire department and they have lines with other, they're going to be a lot larger, so it seems percentage is probably the better way to go. Because if a town clerk may have a small, say a $500 other line, but the fire department, if they're doing equipment updates, other is kind of it gets down to they could put 20,000 or 40,000 in there. So I think it may be the percentage, and again the town clerk's budget is 10% of maybe what the fire department's budget is. So that's why. So it may be better to do a percent instead of a dollar amount.
Yeah, percent feels right to me.
Okay, so I'll tighten that up to be a percent, and then we'll take some of the numbers that seem to be out of whack and see if we can come up with a number that makes sense and make a recommendation. So we can look at this one other time. This is October 10th. We have another meeting for the 24th, so we can tighten up and do the last couple of changes. We track changes on this and highlight what the changes are. So we're just looking at the changes. Okay. That's it on any other questions on the document? Anything anybody else wants added that we may have missed in process and may have missed capturing?
I'm good. I think it's pretty accurate.
Okay. Then we went into the reserve fund transfer and the municipal transfer request reviews. I have listed, the first one was form accuracy. As we know, we got some of them and they had wrong account numbers and wrong values, that sort of thing. So item B is probably for us to create a reference and a procedure so that people know how to fill them out so that we don't have as many questions when we get them, including the accuracy of account numbers that they have. And we didn't always get supporting documentation to the request, so putting that in either in the procedure or and letting the department heads know that they're putting it in, that we're looking for the quotes, the invoices, so that we can see actual numbers rather than just a number written on a piece of paper or a Word document. And this last one is create an automated record. So that's getting into the pieces of if we're having an audit done, how to and they happen to look at this process for the municipal transfers and reserve fund transfers, so that they can go back and point to what the process is and ensure that they've made the accounting transactions appropriate in the accounts, and there's traceability for the auditors so that they can see it if there's ever questions. It looks like I didn't delete the extra bullet from there. This one I have not investigated. Andrea had brought it up. Is there a maximum percent of the budget line that cannot be exceeded when doing the municipal transfer requests? So I haven't done the research into identifying, do we have maximum numbers of percents or dollars that we can't exceed as the MTR? And that could be about the form accuracy and the process and procedures that we're following, that that we're not violating any of the requirements from the state, that we're not transferring too much of a budget line. Again, about process, the municipal transfer requests, most of them are getting reviewed late in the window. And so what we're looking for is to recommend that we work with the financial team, work earlier, say we do a lot of work and get heavily involved right up through town meeting. And then after that, we had been putting it off and waiting for municipal transfer requests to come in. And then doing one batch at the end of June and one batch in July. The window for the transfers is actually the last 2 months of the last 2 months of the fiscal year and the first 2 weeks of the following of the next fiscal year. So the idea is have meetings scheduled a little closer, be looking at the budgets and identify transfers that have the transfer requests that need to and can be identified sooner are done, I mean, in a more timely fashion. So we're not looking at 14 at the last 2 weeks in July, that we've continued to work on after the town meeting periods through the end of the fiscal year, and then there's only a couple of stragglers in the July timeframe. That's what this line is trying to do. And maybe again, that's a piece what I should put in here is why we're recommending that we try to balance it a little bit better. And again, it's better. I think it's better for everybody, the town accountant and town administrator, that we're not rushing and trying to put them all together at the same time. Okay, I've done a lot of talking. Any questions? Does that seem reasonable that we recommend that we try to get it a little less in big batches like that?
I like it. I think the process should be tightened up a little bit. So I think this provides a good framework to do that.
Okay. I put a lot of page breaks in here, so it may look like there's a lot of space. I just tried to keep things so that I didn't want to have things like the picture for this transfer request on one page and then the text about it on another. So in this case, we were transferring money from to an account, and what we were indicating here is this particular account, when you look at the account name, is listed. This is a 2012 special town meeting line item, and so we transferred to the account. The purpose of it was to pay medical bills for a firefighter or police that had been injured on duty, and these were the expenses out of their pocket to cover it. That line item no longer has any money on it. We made it to zero based on the bills that came in, but there's nowhere else in the budget that this is working for. So couple of things that happen when you see a special town meeting line item for 2012 still on there in 2023, 9 years later. Why was the line open that long? There was a little money in it beforehand. So we're saying, let's look at the rest of the budget and see how many of the lines with old unspent money may be available to transfer back in. And that falls in line with what the auditors had said. So that there's good backing from that. And the last is, if we are going to continue to pay this, create a line item in the budget and put some money into it at this point, either in a special town meeting or in next year's annual. And for FY24, we'll continue to use the old 2012 budget, but we need to take some old lines and close them out so that they're inactive in the accounting system. So it's okay. I know when we approved them, we went over all these things, but this is now trying to put it in because the selectmen may not have seen it, and I'm not sure that Eric may have seen these or not. Does that seem to say what we need to say about this one?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then we had the next municipal transfer required. This one was the plan to create the assistant. It says position, but I should fill it in with the assistant accountant position with training to become full-time. So we fully support the plan of planning for a transfer and what's going to lead to a less costly accounting budget. But what happened was we approved this and paid this money out, say 3 months before the end of FY23. If we didn't have, and I'll call it bad budgeting, if we had budgeted appropriately and were near zero, the money wouldn't have been in the budget to do this transfer and actually pay transfer this 25,000 in. So the recommendation coming out of it is when an unfunded position is created during a fiscal year, that there's some sort of form or notification about the change of the budget, so that including how it's going to be paid for, or bring it to the special town meeting if necessary to make those payments. It's kind of like, but adding a position in a year and hoping to pay it out of municipal transfer requests is hoping that you fully budgeted and there's money to pay for that. So again, trying to improve process and success that as we move forward in the town. So sorry to scroll back and forth a little bit. Do we want to add anything else to this, or it seemed good?
Feels right to me.
Okay. And okay, so that one spilled over a little bit. I'll work on the pagination a little bit. And then I think it's the last one, the transfer to an energy line. In this case, we were transferring $45,000 into the energy fund. Remaining, it's kind of like, and we're moving them into the fire department energy. And when we look at the energy line, it's level funded in FY24. So if we needed an extra 45,000 in FY23, we're looking that we may be in the same boat next year, that we need more money in the fire department energy line. So it's reasonable that we go back and meet with the department head and see what the plans are. Because last year it was paid from the per diem line, and that money was cut by about $100,000. So there's a lot less money in there to move around this year. So we want to make sure that the fire department energy budget is covered.
Agreed.
So, and then move it forward. Okay, and when I get back, I'll be back by the end of the week. Sorry, it's kind of like, that's a different subject. I'll leave it to new business. So that's all I had on page 6 of 6. If you want to think about it, I do have a couple of changes, and so we'll get them in and do a final review to that we can forward to Eric, and then we'll have a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen just so that we can have discussion live with them at one of them. We'll get on their agenda, probably, and that seems like that could be our November meeting on November 14th, do a Board of Selectmen joint meeting where we have these discussions.
When is regular town meeting? 21st?
I don't think we have, okay, so let me go back to, so we have October 24th. We had no November meeting planned. I was planning it for November 14th, and it turns out that because of voting on November 7th, the selectmen moved their November meetings to the second and fourth Tuesdays in the month. So if we, yep,
That may have changed. The selectmen are calling a special town meeting in November.
are they now? Okay.
Regular-
Okay, I was not aware of the special town meeting.
Special town meeting was earlier, the one coming up is regular fall town meeting.
Okay, and we're gonna try to do it in November. Okay. Do you know the date?
You know,
No.
I'm not-
I'm not sure either, but I believe part of the meeting was cut off from last week because of an incident. So
Okay.
that part of the meeting
Okay,
wasn't there, but I know that they're considering doing it on a Saturday.
okay, so we want it, but they may be busy with that planning. So, okay, let me take that. We'll see what their meeting dates are in November, or if they just want us to submit the report and call us in for a joint meeting. After that, I can have that discussion with Chaz, as he's our selectman interface. So I'll
Yeah,
do that.
well, we certainly have to have a meeting to discuss the articles and vote on them. for a
Yeah, we have to.
recommendation sheet.
Yeah, we have to do that too. You're right. It's kind of, so, and some of these could be, if like the fire department one could be one if we have some money to in the budget to move and appropriate for the energy.
Mhm.
And if not, we still have some of the money that the auditor found that we could use to for the energy also. Or let's see, yeah. So we'll see. Okay, so we do have a meeting in 2 weeks on the 24th, and so for that time we'll get more information about special town meeting in November, and then see what we can do about planning for a meeting before that. And if we have to change a day, usually we use Thursdays as our backup day. We might have to move to a Thursday. With Tuesdays are taken out by the select board. Okay. And under new business, I was going to mention that in the inbox at town hall, we have a reserve fund transfer request, and I looking at it, the account that they're requesting still has 16,000 in it, and they're requesting about a $5,000 change, or to be transferred. It's police. They had, I believe it was a lightning hit, and they lost equipment, and it needed about a $5,000 repair. But again, I think we had the same thing last year, that if there's that kind of money in the budget, they haven't gone to zero, so it's not really an emergency transfer, and the reserve fund can't be used.
Yeah.
So I will take that and respond back to the police chief, that as much as we want to do it, we can't do it because our hands are tied, because the balance is still in his account.
And do remind him too that so we don't have the misunderstanding that we had the last time, that as it diminishes, if he's going to run out of money, contact us again.
Mhm.
Because he's refused doesn't mean he's refused forever.
Right. Yep. That's all I want to do is, and it gets back to the beginning part, which is document the process and what and when to use the reserve fund requests and that form. So,
Yeah.
I will do that and get it to him and let him know we're there for him when he needs it. Right now, budget and rules say he's got enough money in there to pay that bill and go ahead and pay it. So, and now can we use that invoice later on to say that's why he's depleted and move the $5,000 when it gets depleted, when that line gets depleted?
I think so, because it would show the reason why
Okay.
it diminished.
Okay, perfect. That'll be good. Okay. So I have a couple little changes to the document, clean it up a little bit, add the school committee piece in as well. So I'll get those done, highlight them, like I say, in the report so we can see it, and then I think that we'll do that on the 24th, and we'll also have our special town meeting a little more in focus by then to know what the date is scheduled for in November, and hopefully we'll be able to have some of the warrant articles, and if we don't have them, we'll schedule a meeting to go over the rest of the warrant articles.
The meeting in November is a regular town meeting, fall town meeting. It's not special. We had the special 2 weeks ago. It's
No,
regular.
they're calling another special.
Yeah,
They're
they-
calling the actual special.
it's,
The special we just had was a
Special
special special.
Oh my God.
yeah. So the regular fall one is we have annual town meeting and everything else is special town meeting. Last year we get into the whole thing when it was postponed. We had the supplemental special town meeting, so they came up with words to try to identify them and keep them separate. But
I think that's one thing we should look forward to too, is it almost seemed that we deliberately under budget, thinking we can make it up with free cash at the special town meeting. We shouldn't do that. We should
No.
try to get away from having a special town meeting except for a specific purpose, like zoning issues or something like that, or an emergency, I suppose.
yeah, exactly. And I don't know what the articles may be. Maybe they're for the air conditioning units for town hall and voting women. Hoping-
Yes, the selectmen did not discuss the articles or
Yeah.
anything like that. I confirmed that with Eric
Yeah.
on the phone because it was the reason I tuned in was
Mhm.
to find out what it was.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of I'm hoping that the air conditioning units that they need, they don't need them now. So hopefully we can put it off till spring. But if they need them, it's not maybe a big reserve fund request either. So again, it's a to be determined what they all are. But there are potentials in there because the building department does not have that kind of money in the budget for repair and maintenance for the buildings that they're going to need to put in. And I believe they're talking mini split units. So that'll be the piece for the future. Is there anything else anybody wants to bring up as new business?
No.
Good.
No.
Okay. I apologize. It's been remote. It's kind of like I'm sitting down in Virginia, so it's kind of. And I didn't have my computer, so I was a little. And the properties meeting went long, so my apologies for getting us a late start on this. That being said, we are at 6:28. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
A second.
I need a motion. Yeah.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Okay. Thank you. And I heard the second. Roll call vote.
Gerald Mazeikis, yes?
Josh Levitt, yes.
Mark
Andrea
Hussey,
Wood,
yes.
yes.
And finally, Don Hayes, yes. I thank you all for attending and appreciate the time you spend on this one. And we'll see what moves forward and what we have coming up in 2000. So meeting's adjourned.